Not going to let them do that. But today we have a really special show. I'm so happy to introduce you to a local group here in Fresno County called the GillyGirls Band. And we have the GillyGirls in studio. I'm going to introduce them. And then the other thing is they're so young. And everything we do around here is with a bunch of older people. So it's a treat to have somebody that can represent what we're standing for, liberty, here in the studio today. So the GillyGirls, why don't you identify yourself? You're two sets of twins, and that's pretty amazing. So Savannah, why don't you say hi and then introduce your sister?
Yeah, I'm the oldest of the four of us girls. My name is Savannah, and I am 20 years old.
Then my name is Morgan. I'm Savannah's twin, and I'm also 20 years old.
And then I'm Haley. I'm 17, and I am the oldest twin out of the younger set of twins.
And I'm Jillian. I'm 17 as well, and I'm the baby of the family.
Well, you guys began your career, and it's been a career, and I don't know how many people may have not heard you sing out there, but they're going to be delighted to hear a little bit about your talent. So, Jeremy, do you have that queued up? Let's put a little of their song so people can get a flavor for what they do.
Lots of land under starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please.
Don't fence me in. Well, there's the song. Tell them this, how did that song come about, and when did that song get first published?
If I remember correctly, that's one of our older recordings.
Yeah, you guys were in the convertible.
You remember what
That
year that
album.
was?
That was 2019.
2019, so I was 16, 15 or 16.
Yeah.
But we just grew up listening to cowboy music, and so we had always loved that song. That's why we decided to learn it.
Well, I grew up singing that song.
Yeah.
It was just part of our life, and we, I'm the youngest of 8 kids, so we were singing as a family. And what stands out to me is your harmony is so tight, and being all from the same family, we were like that in my family. We could sing any part of a song, any part of the harmony together, and we sounded like you sound in a way with that tight blend of your voices. And so tell us, when do you guys started singing, and how did that come about?
Well, Morgan and I, when we were around 5 or 6, had been begging my mom for piano lessons. So we started with that. And then my mom always wanted us to learn how to play stringed instruments. So when we were 10 or 11,
Probably around there. Yeah.
we started taking music lessons. And we all started with the mandolin. We'd all take lessons at the same time, all 4 of us. And we started with the mandolin. And then eventually our music teacher had all kinds of different instruments in his music room, and he would just let us play whatever we wanted to. So we kind of all naturally gravitated towards the instrument that we mainly play now. So I play the fiddle as well as the mandolin and the piano.
And then, so your age is at that time. So how old were you?
Morgan and I were probably 10 or 11.
And then the girls?
And then they...
Probably like 8.
8, 10, 11.
Yeah, something like that.
So did you find it difficult?
No, because we had started on piano, that gave us a really great foundation for music. So I already knew how to read music. It was just a matter of learning how to hold the instrument and
Sure.
learning where those notes are on it.
Well, you know, I know your mom is Danette,
Mm-hmm.
and I marvel at how she allows you to be you. She doesn't seem to dominate. She doesn't seem to push you. You guys have been allowed really to develop in your own way. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, where did the current lineup start? On the bass, lead singer. Tell us how that all came about. Because you do most of the lead singing, right?
No, actually, it's probably Morgan or Haley that does most of the lead singing.
Any conflicts on that?
Not really. We'll
No?
try out if we're learning a new song.
We definitely like switch.
Yeah,
Switch
like
who
we'll try it
sings
with
sometimes.
Haley singing lead, and then we'll try it with Morgan singing the lead,
Yeah.
and see like which one fits their voice the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, you sing a lot of gospel, and how do you feel in your professional career? You know, singing the gospel. How did your Christianity develop? Let me put it that way.
Well,
Because as a young kid, you just grew up with it.
yeah.
But was there a time when it became personal?
Well, like you said, we grew up with it, so I kind of just grew up very not really knowing any different, obviously. But one year I decided to just be reading my Bible every day, and I realized that I was like hungry for it, and that it's really important to not just be a Sunday Christian and to try and live that as best you can every day. So I don't remember what year that was, but it was a couple of years ago, and that it became a little more personal to me.
How about you? How did that affect your life?
Same. I mean, we all grew up. Our parents are very strong Christians, so we're very blessed to grow up in a Christian household, and it was always very important that all our music is, even if it's gospel or not, it's still Christ honoring and Christ centered. So all of our music, whether or not it's gospel music or not, is still very clean and family friendly, and I just think it's very important to keep Christ in the center of music, because a lot of people nowadays, a lot of famous people don't necessarily do that, and so it's very important to keep that at the center of it.
Do you feel any intimidation from those who don't share your faith? Why don't you share how you felt about coming up as a Christian?
Yeah, so like both of my sisters said, like I never really knew any different, and
Right.
I guess faith wasn't very personal for me until like I needed to clean onto it. I had 2 family deaths that were traumatic in their own different ways, and so I really had to clean onto my faith for that.
Yeah.
I'd have to say the same as Haley, because my grandma, when she passed away a while ago, like, she was really important in my life, and just at that moment I was like, am I like a fake Christian? Like, am I actually gonna see her again in heaven? Like, what would happen if, like, I'm not? Like, what if I'm just a Sunday Christian? And little less than a year ago, I actually got baptized, and it was just in that moment, like, really thinking through about, like, my own personal life with Christ. So that was just kind of like the thing for me. So
Well, I was fortunate enough to know your grandma and your grandpa, and what outstanding people they are. I mean, their lives are so exemplary in representing just practical things. Your grandpa, he started a lot of schools. He has the school now, Western Christian Academy, and your dad is involved. They're all involved in it. But I think it's fortunate that you had that kind of example. And your grandma was just the sweetest person. She really was. Well, Danette, we're going to try and squeeze you in here. You're the mama, and you're largely, responsible for the shape that all this has taken. Did you ever think that this was actually ever going to happen, that these would be, all of these girls would be a part of a band and singing and traveling?
Well, honestly, I think growing up, my mom was a church pianist, and growing up, I think I dreamt about being in a family singing group. unfortunately, both my brothers were totally tone deaf, so that wasn't going to happen. But my sister and I sang a lot in church, and I was in school choirs and on drama and stuff. So I think those seeds were already in my heart, but I didn't know that we were going to be blessed with these musical kids and that they would, have just this organically grown sort of group that came out of just a love for music in our home and the fun of just doing music together and spending time learning a skill. I think I felt like, you got to spend time learning to get along. All kids have to. So we're going to do music together. It's something that you'll have your whole lives. And so we made whatever sacrifices we needed to. But for them, it was just they just had a natural God-given gift. And the more we could see that unfolding, we just felt like it was our place to nurture and to guide that gift in them.
Well, yeah, that's really, since I've known you guys for 4 years, there's everything that you do has a discipleship tone to it. You've discipled these girls, and Jeff and you have done that. And, I just really admire Jeff, your husband, and their daddy, and what you do. But you live on sort of a ranchette.
It is. It's a family ranch. It's been in my dad's family for over 100 years, since 1912. Wow. And it's been a very beautiful, special place to let the kids grow up. Grandma and Grandpa were next door. My brother and his family lived, just couple 100 feet away, and so there was a lot of interaction with family members and a lot of safety in that and security, and knowing you've got like your aunt and uncle there and your grandparents there and your cousins close by, and it's really, really special environment. A lot of fun, a lot of adventure, a lot of just outdoor play and animals and farm life and stuff. So
did you have chores growing up?
Not a lot of outside chores. My dad mainly, he would every once in a while take us with him to feed the cows and the horses, or if ever he was gone on a trip or something, we would have to, do it ourselves and learn how to do it. So not a ton of outside chores, but yeah.
Well, so they started playing, they started doing the piano, then the mandolin. Then they found their own instrument. How did that?
Yeah, they so their teacher had actually grown up in a family band, and they had lived all over the world, and so he already saw the great potential for having them, venture out and try some different things, and so he kind of encouraged them to take home different instruments and to try different things, and being a little bit competitive, being sisters, they all wanted to do something different from what the other one was doing. So, or they wanted to master them all. Jillian was kind of like, I'm going to learn every instrument in here. And
I did.
So they just took home different instruments. And once, they were kind of 4 different instruments going on, the teacher just said, well, now you have to sing. If you're going to learn folk music, you have to sing with it. It's all about community. It's about being together and bonding together and singing stories. And so he got them singing right away. And they were just singing in unison like little kids do, but it felt normal and natural. And after a while, he would perform at local libraries or different festivals and things. And he invited the girls to come and just, do a song with him. And so they would go and try that, and it was a lot of fun. And pretty soon, people started requesting that they do a song on their own. And then they did a whole show on their own. And then by word of mouth, people just started, requesting more of them and booking them for shows. And it just grew organically, completely organically. And we were a little bit in over our heads because we didn't know, we hadn't grown up doing anything like that, so we had to learn a lot real quick on the fly, sound equipment and all that kind of stuff, and learning how to be a booking manager for them. There's just a lot that goes into that, and helping. They're homeschooled, or they were homeschooled, and so, well, they're enrolled in Western Christian Academy, which we do at home.
Right.
But they have been able to spend a lot more time on music than they would if they were in traditional school.
But there's a point at which, let me ask you. There's a point at which you either do it because you want to, or you look for another direction. What kept you wanting to do it?
I've asked myself this question so many times. I mean, it's kind of just felt like what we've always done, because I've spent my entire teenage years doing this, and it's all
Right.
I've kind of known how to do. So it was like concerts have rolled in, and it's fun, don't get me wrong, like performing for people, and it's still fun playing for like an audience and stuff. But at this point, like turning 20, I'm asking myself, do I keep going and like this, pursue something else, like do something independently, or stay in the band? But I mean, I've had so many great memories involving this band, and I've gotten to travel so many places, and I definitely wouldn't trade any of that for anything. So
Well, I can tell you firsthand, I grew up singing and big family. And so there's a point at which when you step out and you're in front of an audience, something happens. For me, it was a gospel group. So our commitment was to Jesus Christ, and we wanted to encourage people. We wanted to help them feel the love and closer to God. But then what I see you guys doing that I relate to was the love of doing it. Because you guys have a love for what you're doing, and it affects people. You sang at our gala, and we had 300 people out at Wolf Lakes Park, and it was one of the best memories I've ever had. And you guys just have a way of communicating the love of God and the love of people. But once that bug gets you, you're a troubadour. You almost have to perform. I sang with a gospel group called The Brethren for 6 years. And we traveled the country, and we were in front of all kinds of different groups, churches and concerts and things like that. But when I stopped doing it, it was miserable. I would encourage you, don't stop. Fit other things into it, but don't make a quick decision not to continue. Let it be gradual.
Yeah, and that's my hope for them, is to recognize that they've been given a gift, and they've honed their skills, and to use it to honor the Lord first and foremost, but to bring joy to people wherever they go. And it may take different forms as they grow and go off in their different directions, but I hope, my desire for them is that they will always do music in some form to bless the Lord and to bless people and to bring joy.
But you've already taken them far enough to where they're going to pass this on.
Yes, and I hope they do.
They will.
I hope they do.
It's almost inevitable.
Yeah.
They're going to want their kids to experience some of this, and they, may not go in the direction that you guys have gone in, but that's going to be, we replicate ourselves according to our likeness.
Yes.
Isn't that true?
Yeah.
And so, what was your growing up like?
Well, my dad was in Christian ministry, and I had two brothers and a sister, and we were either homeschooled or in private school, and we traveled a lot with my dad for his job, and so we got plugged into just different churches all across the U.S. and California, Nevada, and
Did
Hawaii.
he preach?
He actually helped churches start private schools.
Okay.
To minister to the families that
Right.
were in their congregation. which is, there's a great need for that. Again, I would say that these churches would have the ability to offer a place for Christian education for their families. But we traveled around with him, and so we got to meet people of faith all over the place, all different denominations. And my mom, like I said, was a church pianist, and we had a lot of fun growing up. We grew up on the ranch, same place where we live now, and we really thoroughly enjoyed that, having an adventurous outdoor kind of country lifestyle. That was a lot of fun and created a lot of good memories for everybody. It was a very good family-centered experience growing up. I think that we had a really good, fun, healthy.
Well, you know, your dad, I don't know him real well, but I know him well enough to know that he's a special guy.
Yeah, he is.
And I consider him, in Israel, they had what they called elders at the gate. And these are people that had been faithful to the Lord. They grew in the knowledge of God, and then they had the wisdom to pass along to other people. And you would go to the elders at the gate. And that's how I feel about your dad, because I called on him for different things. And so we're living in Fresno County. You grew up in Clovis, right?
Prather.
In Prather,
actually, yeah.
up in the
Prather.
foothills, yeah.
But you're really the pride of the community. People, have been affected by you, and you're kind of our homegrown singing group.
It's been fun, I think, for local people to have seen the girls grow up doing this. Because we get a lot of people that come back to concerts and say, I started watching them way back when they were just little tiny, and so that's been a lot of fun for people to see them grow into their skill and to see where they're at now. And
So tell us about your first time on stage. How did that go for you?
I thought I was gonna throw up.
Wait, what even was our first time?
Our very first time on stage was at a harvest festival in Prather, where we live.
Yeah.
And it was just at the local nursery.
Yeah.
We played for about 20
I mean, there was
minutes.
quite a few people there. Like, everybody
Yeah.
there was there. But yeah, I was definitely nervous. But we had, like, friends that came, so that always makes it fun.
Do you remember making any mistakes?
Oh,
millions.
yeah.
I remember we played for like 20 minutes because that's all the songs we knew. We only had like 6 or 7, and most of the instruments were out of tune, and we just
I think all of
played
us
anyways.
were still playing mandolin.
we had a banjo
We had a bass.
and a bass.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, we had the bass. I remember that.
Yeah,
Did
we
you?
did.
Yeah, we had a bass. Yeah.
So we still had instruments, but not great ones.
Right.
But it went pretty okay for
it was cute.
yeah.
It was cute, and the community loved it.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd like to get into a little bit of the fact that we're facing a whole series of drama politically, and you're going out to different places. Well, first of all, let me ask you this. When was your first tour? When did you leave the area and perform outside of the area? How did that come about?
It was probably 2017.
Yeah, probably.
They had been asked to perform for the big ag show in Tulare and the World Ag Expo. And there was a gentleman there who had a farm out in Indiana, and he requested them to come out. He said, if I hire you to come to Indiana, will you come? And we were like, hey, we'll go wherever we need to go.
Yeah.
But little did we know that was going to cause us to
Buy an RV.
buy an RV, and we traveled out there. That was our first trip, and then we kind of got the bug, and we were like, hey, this is a lot of fun. We could do more of this. And then we heard about Kids in Bluegrass competition that they put on in Missouri, in Branson, Missouri at Silver Dollar City. And we thought, hey, we need to enter that. That would be a lot of fun. And so we went and we did that, and we got to meet a lot of other families that were involved in that. And that was so much fun. And we kind of got hooked, and we said, we got to come back to this year after year.
Nice,
So
yeah.
we did that, and they won a couple of times, and that was a lot of fun, very exciting. And I think the most fun that we had was just getting to know other families that do what we do, that are doing music, that are conservative, that love Jesus, and that love, doing things together as a family. And so that was, it's been kind of a consistent thing that we've done for several years now. But my husband's from Wyoming, so we decided to stop over in a couple little towns in Wyoming, and I think somewhere along the way we were introduced to some friends. They're dear friends now, but we didn't know them at the time, but they just welcomed us into their home, and they helped us get our first concert in Wyoming, and then we began to book all the little towns in Wyoming. We would book little concerts in the park at these series that they do for summer concerts and stuff. And we just went from town to town, and we would spend the whole month of July just touring all the little towns in Wyoming and singing at the parks. And that was just a lot of fun. We did that a few years in a row, meeting people across the country, connecting with people through music and hearing stories, and just, it was incredible. Like, we never even knew if we were going to make enough money to put gas in the RV, but God was always faithful in providing, and we knew, especially when our governor told us to stop singing. He said, churches have to close, people have to stop singing, and, I just said, no, the Lord tells us to sing, we're going to sing, and we're going to get in the RV, and we're going to travel across the country, and we're going to sing.
Nice.
And we did, and he was faithful, and he opened so many doors for us, and we didn't even have a tour booked at that point, but we got bookings last minute, and doors opened up while we were on the trip, on the tour, and we were able to fill the RV with gas, eat, plenty of meals, meet so many people along the way, and come home with a little bit of cash in our pockets. So it was just well worth it.
Yeah.
Bless people, put the gospel out there everywhere we went.
But that's kind of like a political statement.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean,
standing up for what's right,
yeah.
Standing up for our Constitution.
Absolutely.
And dealing with that. We stayed open during the lockdown. In fact, we were the only place that was open.
Yeah.
I think in Clovis, but I better not throw out the names, but they told me that, hey, keep it on the down low. Just no one's going to bother you, but don't make a big deal out of it.
Yes.
And and a lot of people stepped up, didn't they?
Yeah.
Across the state and everything. So you agreed that we're going to do a little crazy thing a cappella. And so who's going to lead us in that?
I can start it, but you want to go over that mic?
You can do my mic. Or any mic.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try not to sing, but you might hear a little bass harmony. It might pop out. But I'll try not to.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore.
Nice. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Well, you guys have to be heading out to another event, and it's so gracious of you to come in and take the time to be here. I know we're in little cramped quarters, but it's like getting started.
Yeah.
You have to start somewhere and make it work. But when we get the outside area up and running, we'll have a little concert.
Yeah.
And we'll tape it and send it out. But thank you so much for bringing them and you guys coming. We'll follow your career a lot. back in just a few seconds. We are so proud of these guys. The GillyGirls have been around the Clovis area for a long time. They grew up here, and now we get to see them as young adults, and then they're really on the threshold of where do you go from here. And so we're grateful that they came on the program. And, you know, we have so many things going on of a serious nature, and the whole point of Wild About Liberty is to talk about how we can keep our liberty and what we can do to affect change. We've got an election coming up in 1 year from now. It's probably the most important election that we may have ever had. And, you know, we were preparing right now, and Liberty Coalition is the organization that I represent here in Fresno County. We're putting together a program with the Republican Party and some other groups for a precinct walking program. And it's probably the most important and effective way to get a vote, by going out into your neighborhood, knocking on the doors, telling them what we represent, what we stand for, and how they can, participate and vote. And so this precinct program is broken down into routes of 120 homes, maybe 160 homes in different neighborhoods. So there's a map that outlines every precinct in Fresno County, and there happens to be something in the neighborhood of 800 precincts. So at this moment, we're trying to organize that, and we want people to get involved and make a difference. And we're inviting you to get involved and make a difference. So if you would be interested in being part of the precinct program, we're setting up teams. So we'll have a precinct captain and maybe one or two other people involved in doing this. And it just helps lighten the load, but it also helps becoming more effective and being able to get to those doors. So if you would want to come in and find out more about it, if you want to go to our website, which is www.libertycoalition.com, you can find out more about it. And please help us and get involved, and let's try and do everything we can to get the vote that we need and appeal to people. Let's keep our liberty. Let's keep our rights. You know, the Constitution is under attack, and it's up to us to keep it and preserve it and pass it on to our children. And so it's the precinct program. You can go to libertycoalition.com and find out how you can get involved. You know, there's so many other areas that people can help out and do something to, again, you know, keep our liberties, keep our rights. And so we're setting up, we have Liberty Lunch here at 1123 Railroad Avenue every week, every Wednesday from Monday, from 1 o'clock to 12:30. You can come in and meet and greet. You can network, have a good meal. It's $15 and a buffet with really good cooking. I know that because my wife does the cooking. And so Liberty Lunch, Patty Cassio is our hostess. She does the announcing, and she's done a heck of a good job for a long time now. And so come on by. Let yourself be known. If you have a group or an organization you want people to know about, you can do that. We're going to be televising and doing our podcast from the floor out here. We have a room that holds about 50 people and round tables, and so it's pretty good seating, and you can come in and be part of that. So Liberty Lunch every week from 12 to 1:30, 1123 Railroad Avenue. I'd love to have you come by. You know, one of the other things that we want to accomplish here in the Valley is to point people to an organization that they're comfortable with. You know, Liberty Coalition really is committed to serving other groups, other organizations, and attracting people, for example, the NRA. Cliff Wong is the president of the NRA in Fresno County. He's a dynamic, wonderful man. He works very, very hard. And, you know, the Second Amendment is the cornerstone of our freedom. And keeping that intact is critical. So Cliff would love to have your participation, become a member, tell other people, and you can go to the NRA, you can Google them here in Fresno and find out what they're all about. And if you need any training in weaponry, they have classes, they have demonstrations. You could go out and watch and see how to use weapons safely and responsibly. And so the NRA is something that we want to support, and we want you to support. And then there are other groups. We have the Women's Federated. They hold lunches on a regular basis. There's another branch in the Clovis area. And so those are just some of the outlets that are available for you to get involved in and make a difference. We're here trying to make a difference. And I'm telling you, people have had it. People are tired of all this drama, and it's obvious we're being lied to on a major scale. And we know that the woke agenda is just a fantasy. You can't convince me that people are going to buy this whole gender issue and pronouns and trying to convince us that a little boy is not a little boy, it's a little girl, and that men can have babies. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just so offensive. And so our roots at Liberty Coalition and what we're doing here is totally based in Scripture. It's the place where you go to get truth. It's the place where you go to get reality, and you find out God's perspective and values and how to live our life in peace and in love and working with others. But then when there's a threat, like we're experiencing now, you have to stand up and oppose it. You know, loving God and loving others isn't the same as giving up your rights and not defending what you hold dear and what God expects you to defend. And for me, the whole process of being a Christian over 50 years has filled my life in a way that I can't even describe. Knowing God is hard to explain, but the inner fulfillment really is about who God says you are and being who God says you are. And we keep our religious freedoms in a way that allows you, it allows me to express ourselves in a way that we feel is right. And we don't have the government, we don't have the state telling us how to do that. But the problem is, now the state is telling us how to do that. They're telling us when to sing and when we can't sing. They're telling us that we can't believe in the moral standards of Scripture, that we have to tolerate immorality and other things that go directly against the Word of God. And so defining that, we define it for ourselves and we live by our own conscience. And what is really important that I want people to experience is when you first come to Christ, it's just like being a little baby, a little human baby. You're born, you don't know anything, you can't identify things, you're just a baby who needs food and you need your diaper changed. But then things develop. You start to grow in awareness. You start to grow in spiritual intelligence and human intelligence. And you begin to identify objects. You understand why they exist, how to use them. And you go on through this process of human development. And then you become a self-sufficient adult. You can take care of yourself. You can function. You can work. You can make decisions, raise a family, because you have gained the experience and the intelligence to do that. But that's exactly what it's like being a Christian. You're born into this world like a baby. You have no awareness. You have no real spiritual depth or knowledge. And then you live your life. And then when you're born again, you start the process of developing spiritual intelligence, knowing what objects are, knowing how to define them, knowing what's good, knowing what's bad, knowing what's right, knowing what's wrong, and being able to process that. But, the most important lesson in our life is knowing who God is, being able to define who God is, that He is our Father, He is Jesus Christ the Son, and He is the Holy Spirit. And how that operates in our life, how that works to guide us in everything we do every day. And that spiritual intelligence is supposed to continue to develop for all of our life. And that we can know and define Jesus Christ according to what the Bible teaches. We are able to explain Him. And one of the reasons He came to this earth, one of the reasons He was born, of course, it's to bring salvation. But what happens after salvation? We become committed to Christ. We accept Him as our Lord and Savior. But that's just the beginning. God planned that and expected that to develop into growth and maturity and spiritual development and spiritual intelligence so we could know God in a way that we were created to be able to know Him. When He created mankind, He gave us the faculties, the functions, and the ability to know Him, to love Him, to explain Him, and to understand who He is, because by doing that, we really understand who we are. We're made in His image. We're made in His likeness. We take on the attributes of who he is, and we literally partake in the divine nature. Not that we're God, we're not. We're just a created being, but we're created so much like God in his image and likeness because that's what he chose to do when he created humankind, so he could find fulfillment. He could love and be loved. He could fellowship with a being that gave him the satisfaction and the fulfillment that he was looking for. And that really becomes so big in our life. That becomes so gigantic. Knowing him and being able to explain him and love him and fellowship with him. But then we go from that to loving and fellowshipping with each other. And that's really what life is all about. It's relationships, relationship with God, our Father, relationship with each other. And that's why Liberty Coalition was formed, because we want to represent who Christ is. We want to serve him on this earth. We want to keep the liberties that he gave us and fulfill the hope and dream of America. Keep our Constitution strong and work as hard as we can to do that, so we can leave that for our children. Thank you for tuning in. God bless.
And I'm proud to be an American.
Thank you for listening to Wild About Liberty with Terry Wild, only on KXEX 1550.